What's the other item?
Oh, well, the other item where the magic of St. John's Eve apparently has taken control of someone in the church is the Sovereign Military Order of Malta. A last echo of the Crusades, which actually I'm making fun, but as an order and as an idea, I have nothing but a tremendous amount of love and admiration for the Order of Malta. As to what they've become over the past few years, I have very, very little but contempt. The engineered overthrow of the last Grand Master, Fra Matthew Festing, because the Chancellor, Albrecht Freiherr von Boslager, refused to resign when ordered to. Remember, these are people who take a vow of obedience. And the current Chancellor of the Order's way of exercising his vow of obedience was to say, hell no, I won't go. LBJ, how many kids you killed today? All right, he didn't say that about LBJ. But he did say, hell no, I won't go. And there's more. Well, I'm somehow, whenever I get into the mindset of that age group, I just want to protest the war in Vietnam. You know what I'm saying?
I don't blame you.
I want to ride a Freedom Ride bus down to the South. I just get so enthralled. I want to wear tie-dyes and I want to rock out to Janis Joplin. Every time I think of the current leadership in the church, that's what I want to do. Anyway, so I must admit I've had some issues with the order for the past several years. Under Fra Matthew Festing, the last Grand Master, the motto of the order has traditionally been for the aid of the sick and the defense of the faith, Tuitio Fidei. They began translating it, however, not as defense of the faith, but as nurturing of the faith. And the reason given was the fear that their sovereign status, because the only place the order actually owns, there are three places, 2 parcels of land in Rome and 1 in Malta. And that's the territory of the order, plus all their embassies around the world. There are sovereign orders that have embassies, they have passports and so forth. Well, a number of them were afraid that if they didn't change defense of the faith to nurturing, they would come to be seen as merely a branch of the Catholic Church and then somehow lose their sovereign status. Okay. Cardinal Burke, who was appointed by the Holy Father as patron of the order, and Fra Matthew, the Grand Master, came to their attention that the Chancellor was up to some monkey business, both in terms of distribution of condoms and money laundering, a money laundering scheme that included the current Secretary of State, His Eminence Cardinal Parolin. And so that was the reason von Boslager was ordered to resign. He refused, and the Holy Father personally intervened and ordered Fra Matthew to resign. He deposed him. Now, Fra Matthew, unfortunately, went along with the gag, and he resigned. But what does this do to the vaunted sovereignty of the order? We know the Holy Father doesn't like the Prime Minister of Italy. Why doesn't he tell him to resign? He doesn't like President Trump. Why doesn't he depose him? Oh, that's right, because they'd say, pound sand, old man, drop dead. And that's the kind of PR thing that the Holy Father would shy away from. So he bullied whom he could bully, which is kind of a hallmark of this pontificate. And not just this pontificate. I mean, it's a very common motif for people to bully whom they can bully and suck up to whom they can't bully. But a person who does that is not usually, there may be exceptions, and I'm sure this must be one, but usually persons with that particular habit of life are not considered excessively admirable. The word that's used is, hold on. Cowardly bully. That's the phrase that was traditionally used in my day for such a person. Today, I think they call him man in charge or something. Anyway, that was what it was called back back when I was riding my brontosaur to school every day.
Okay.
Anyway, so the thing is that the problem in the Order of Malta has been brewing for a long time. Now, the other thing is that there are actually only a small minority of the members who are full members, i.e. professed. Rumor has it the Constitution is going to be altered this year, and rumor has it that they want to remove all the noble requirements. In other words, effectively turning it into a weird costume deal, a cross between the Knights of Columbus and Caritas International, which is nice, but then who wants to belong to it? What does it mean then? You know, if that's the case, considering how much they charge to be members, if they were to succeed in doing that, I would just leave if I remember. I wouldn't even bother. But it does leave the professed knights who have made by and large, have made a deep profession to Christ and the church. So pray very strongly for them between now and the 8th of July, when I think some particular decisions are going to be made. I mean, it really is horrible to see the order gutted like this. Oh, but the cream of the jest, what's got me on this tangent, was the current, now while von Boslager really runs the order, he has a sort of Charlie McCarthy-like character. I won't tell you who Charlie McCarthy is. Look him up on Facebook. Not Facebook, Wikipedia. Charlie McCarthy. Look him up, you'll find out. But this Charlie McCarthy-like character is the new Grandmaster de la Torre, who does pretty much what von Boslager tells him. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. After all, von Boslager has proven how important obedience is. If it were, after all, had been truly exercised, he wouldn't be there. But at any rate, de la Torre sent out a letter ordering no use of the Tridentine Mass anywhere within the Order of Malta. Now, it was such a semi-literate letter and so silly that when it first came out, a number of commentators thought it was a phony. And it was in English alone, when the language of orders in the order is Italian. So it was very strange. And as I say, a number of people, a number of Vaticanologists, initially concluded it must be a fraud because it was so stupid. The actual order could never turn out something that idiotic. Because then it was, in fact, genuine. And no less than the head of the Western Association of the Order, Michael Grace, sent it out with a letter to all members of the Western Association of the United States Order of Malta, saying that they were happily complying with it and that they should pray for those sections of the order that would have difficulty doing so. Well, there's difficulty doing so because what the letter requires is illegal. It's ultra vires. And what will become of it, I have no idea, but it certainly is going to cause something of a rip in the altar. It may be, on the one hand, it may just be a way of purging the order of decent people. That could be, which is fine. I mean, they have the support of the Holy Father in doing this. If the Holy Father wants, I don't know what you would call it, but if that's what he wants, he's welcome to it. After all, he owns the church, not God. But what did you think the church was? It's the mystical body of the Pope. Didn't you know that? Did they teach you anything? No, I'm being unnecessarily nasty. And I want to go on record right now as saying that I'm sure the Holy Father doesn't mean anything he says or does. No one could. But at any rate, the sad part in all of this, as I say, is to see something so wonderful, so venerable, shredded for the sake of nothing. Laundering a few $1 million, getting a few condoms out. Is it really worth it? Really? Now, some have said that the letter was actually von Boslager's way of cocking a snook at Cardinal Burke. who had been suspended. He's still patron on paper, but the Holy Father suspended his powers. And as you know, a few weeks ago, he was one of the co-signers of this doctrinal correction, which many doubtless inaccurately perceived as a snap at the Holy Father. So some have said that this is von Boeslager's way of cocking his snook at Cardinal Burke. But all it does really is hold himself and his Grand Master de la Torre up to ridicule. And the fact that the letter was so ridiculous. I mean, most of us have stupid sides to us. If we're smart, we try to conceal them. We don't run around with signs saying, "Look at me, I'm a big dum-dum." But sometimes people, what can I tell you? They do what they want to do. That letter, I think, was an enormous mistake, however. And I believe it will come back to haunt everyone involved.